president is approaching the podium in New York City, and we are going to go there live so that you can hear every word he has to say in the aftermath of what happened yesterday when the jury in the case came back with a verdict that I don't think any of us envisioned, guilty on all 34 counts. Here is the former president.
They can do this to me. They can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. When you look at our country, what's happening, where millions and millions of people are flowing in from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East. And they're coming in from jails and prisons. And they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from all over the world into our country. And we have a president and a group of fascists that don't want to do anything about it, because they could right now, today, he could stop it. But he's not. They're destroying our country. Our country is in very bad shape. And they're very much against me saying these things. They want to raise your taxes by 4 times. They want to stop you from having cars with their ridiculous mandates that make it impossible for you to get a car or afford a car. It would make it very possible for China to build all of our cars. It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now, I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail. Think of it. I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading the Republicans to the point where that's over. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court. And they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. And maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let us do those things. But when the government wanted something, they got everything. They got everything they wanted. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who was a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant. And Bragg is down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me. I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right? It means that legal expense, I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, correctly marked it down in the books. A very professional woman, highly respected, she testified, marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So a legal expense, paid a lawyer, is a legal expense in the books. It's not sheetrock, construction, or any other thing. It's a legal expense. Think of that. This is what the falsification of business records were. And I said, what else are you going to call it? What else are you going to call it? Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. But you would have said something out of whack, like it was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out. And I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening. The level of support has been incredible. So the whole thing is legal expense was marked down as legal expense. Think of it. This is the crime that I committed, that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. When you have violent crime all over this city at levels that nobody's ever seen before, where you have businesses leaving, and businesses are leaving because of this, because heads of businesses say, man, we don't want to get involved with that. I could go through the books of any business person in the city, and I could find things that in theory, I guess, let's indict him, let's destroy his life. But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there, because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency. And the people understand it, because I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out, it was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially. We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and it says something differently. But a lot of people have predicted it, because the public understands, and they understand what's going on. This is a scam. There's a rigged trial. It shouldn't have been in that venue. We shouldn't have had that judge. He should have allowed us to have an election expert. We had the best expert, most respected expert, head of the Federal Elections Commission. He was all set to testify. He was waiting for 2 days. And when it was his turn, Bragg's people protested, and the judge knocked him out, said you can't testify. He actually said you can't testify for anything having to do with the trial. You can say what the federal elections is. Well, that doesn't help. Everybody knows that, but you can't testify. So essentially, he wasn't able to testify. Other people weren't able to testify. But with these people, they were able to use people salacious. By the way, and nothing ever happened. There was no anything. Nothing ever happened, and they know it. But they were as salacious as they could be, and it had nothing to do with the case, but it had to do with politics. And do you notice the timing? The timing was perfect. This case was dead. It was dropped by every agency, every governmental board. It was dropped by the highly respected Southern District. They said, no, there's no case here. It was dropped by federal election, and that's what it's about. This is about a federal election, not a state election. You're not even allowed to look at it.
So you are listening to Donald Trump's opening statement from Trump Tower in New York City in the aftermath of his conviction yesterday on all 34 counts. We will continue to talk about it. We'll have U.S. Senate candidate Bernie Moreno at 12:15. Lots of other reaction from sitting U.S. Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio, from Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, media pundits, and more. It's a historic day, a depressing day in America. The rule of law has been thrown aside, and we will continue to discuss on a Friday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show.
Sunshine, pleasant afternoon. High today 76. Patchy clouds tonight, low 52. Clouds for tomorrow. Shower for the afternoon, high 83. Periods of morning rain on Sunday, otherwise cloudy, high 72. Partly sunny, warm day on Monday, the high 82. And then partly.
Who was responsible for another case that was also brought. It destroyed the life of a very good man, by the way. Destroyed the life of a very good man who went to prison once. And then they just put him in prison again because they said he lied. He didn't lie. I looked at the statements he made. In fact, he didn't remember something, and they put him in jail. Again, they've destroyed him. With me for many years. He was an honorable person. He was an honest man. And if you look at what he did, supposedly, it never happened. There's never been anything like this. Over the education of his grandchildren. Over, he didn't report that he had a car or 2 cars on his income. I don't know. I wonder how many people here have cars. I wonder how many people said, oh, gee, I have a car that's worth X dollars. How do you even figure it? And I guess you do have to report it, but I would say probably almost nobody. He's 77 years old. Now, normally I'd say that's, but I don't feel 77.
$1,000 per year necessary to reach the administration's goal.
Gee, we have to have a little sorrow for this man because they just don't say that about me, but maybe I'm better off that way. I think I'm probably better off that way, but they put him in jail twice. And you have to see what they put him in jail. And he was threatened by the judge. This man was told you're going to get 15 years in jail if you don't give up Trump. And he was told that. You're going to get 15 years in jail.
It's getting harder and harder to make sense out of today's headlines. To stay on top of breaking world and national news with a Christian worldview and a faith-based perspective on what it means, turn to ChristianHeadlines.com. Log on to ChristianHeadlines.com for the very latest news, and then sign up for our free daily newsletter to stay one step ahead of what's happening. Get out of the mainstream media with top news and positive headlines every day with ChristianHeadlines.com.
This is a red alert for hardworking Americans who are tired of seeing their freedoms and retirement savings threatened by the globalist agenda. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to find whistleblowers who are exposing these schemes. Real patriotic financial warriors like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry. They're not afraid to tell it like it is and fight back against the system. Now, with the 2024 elections storming our way, your IRA and your 401k may be in the crosshairs. That's why we've compiled our 3 favorite ideas into our Election Protection Report. You definitely won't hear any of these in the mainstream news. Get your free copy of our Election Protection Report now. Just text TRUTH to 76626. Plus, today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from our sponsor, Augusta Precious Metals. Text TRUTH to 76626 now and get the free report and gold investment kit. The fight for your financial freedom is on. Text the word TRUTH to 76626.
Standard text and data rates may apply.
She never heard of Cinderella. Then I said, I have to read to children.
Maria Machado knows what thousands of other foster grandparents know, that she can offer her time and her heart to help a child gain confidence and self-esteem. If you're 55 or older, go to getinvolved.gov or call 1-800-424-8867 to find out how you can volunteer.
I felt that's the best thing to do is to get involved in the neighborhood, give back.
Make a difference for generations. This message is brought to you by the Corporation for National Community Service.
Well, I don't know that there has ever been a better day to demonstrate the necessity to have alternate sources to get the things that you need for your family and to fight back against the way that our country is trending, not just politically, but even at the stores and even in manufacturing. It seems like the deck is stacked against people who believe in the foundational values of America. That's why I'm proud to be and proud to recommend you becoming a PatriotSwitch.com member, because I like companies that aren't woke, that don't contribute to Planned Parenthood, that don't get behind movements like Defund the Police, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Heinz. It's easy to say that they're the companies that are funding these kinds of initiatives, but where do they get their money? Well, they get it from you and me. Because what? We need ketchup, we need mouthwash, we need toothpaste, we need laundry detergent. Yeah, we do, but we don't need to get it from them. And you don't have to get it from them. You can have it shipped right to your door, made by one family. All plant-based products, good for you, better for the environment, and better for striking a blow against woke capitalism. Check it out. Leave your information. I'll call you and we will talk about how you can join me in becoming a member of PatriotSwitch.com. Go to PatriotSwitch.com/Bruce, BruceHooley.com, PatriotSwitch.com, or BruceHooley.com. So you can conceptually know something is capable of happening. For instance, we all know a terrorist attack could happen. Did we know it on a deeper level after 9/11 than we did before? I think so. You can even hear about something happening. The Hamas terrorist attacks on Israel, October the 7th, it actually happened. And you can be told the details of it. But until you see the video, or until it's your own house that burns down, or your own property that's flattened by a tornado, until you experience it personally, or until what you envision might happen actually does happen, you don't have a full measure of how you really and truly feel about it. Yesterday afternoon, I got a text from Matt Mayer of OpportunityOhio.org, who's a guest on our show every day or every Thursday at 12:05. And Matt's text didn't tell me what the Trump verdict was specifically, but I could tell what the Trump verdict was from his reaction, which is something like unreal. And I was like, guilty? ? And his response was, on all 34 counts. And that's when it hit me, the reality of the moment, the reality of how far we have descended into becoming anything but the country our founders founded us to be. I am, as I've said to you many times, first and foremost an evangelical Christian, not first and foremost a Republican, or first and foremost a conservative, or first and foremost a crusader against a lot of democratic policies. I'm first and foremost an evangelical Christian. And so in moments like these, it's never more important than in moments like these to check myself and make sure that I do not disgrace the name of Jesus. And I was thinking about this Trump verdict and the right scriptural reaction to it. And sure, you can go, vengeance is mine, I will repay. You can go from 1 Peter 2:23, where, you know, they spit on Jesus, they beat on him, they did all manner of horrendous things to him, and he made no threats. He responded and trusted himself to him who judges justly. And I thought of Proverbs 21:30, I think it is, which reads, there's no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. As an evangelical Christian, you either believe God is in control of everything or allows bad things to happen for a higher purpose that can come from it if we respond in the right way, or you don't. And so I have to try to respond that way to this. I think this verdict is obviously, like most of the commentators you've probably listened to since yesterday afternoon when this happened, a complete travesty. I assume it will be overturned on appeal. I do not share the certainty that many people have that Donald Trump will not get jail time for this. Because, as someone said a long, long time ago, such that it has been repeated often and is a cliche, the best indicator of what is going to happen is what has already happened. They ignored myriad observances of judicial fairness to get Donald Trump convicted by a jury of 12 people on all counts, a unanimous conviction on all counts. They denied Trump witnesses he wanted to call. They allowed prosecution witnesses to say things that had no relevance to the trial, but they would not allow Trump's witnesses who were relevant to the trial to testify. They would not tell Trump's defense team who was going to testify for the prosecution until the day they appeared in court. I could go on and on and on about the judicial unfairness and the agenda and the not so coincidental fact that Judge Juan Marchand got this trial and the previous two Trump-related trials, when the odds makers put that at a 1 in more than 15,000 chance. We could go into all that. The question becomes, how do we react? And there are a lot of people reacting like, well, this is the only way to react is to do what the Democrats, what they're doing to you. We'll get to that. But first, on the matter of Trump going to jail, I don't rule it out. I mean, if they're willing to do all the things I just outlined with the witnesses and the secrecy of this process and the outright ignoring judicial precepts that have been the hallmark of our country for 200 plus years, if they're willing to do all that, why do we think that they're going to find a conscience when it comes to like putting Trump behind bars? They've gotten a lot of what they want out of this. They kept him off the campaign trail. They've tried to break him financially with the E. Jean Carroll verdict, with the fraud verdict that Letitia James gained in New York State, even though, like this case, there are no victims. Who are the victims of this? Who? Stormy Daniels got paid. Michael Cohen stole from Trump. He's not charged with anything. There are no victims in this case. There are no victims in the E. Jean Carroll case. She's not a victim. She's an opportunist. They revived the E. Jean Carroll thing by making a new law that changed the statute of limitations on the offense she alleged. If they're willing to go to those lengths, and they are, and they did, and they have, do you think they won't? You think they're going to find religion on not putting Trump in jail? I'm not predicting it. I'm saying you have to expect the absolute worst now, because these people have shown who they are. And if you don't believe people when they show you who they are, then that's a you problem. Now, the political ramifications of this, I do agree with the experts, are going to be, I think, good for Donald Trump. I think that this enrages most reasonable people. That's why you see Democrats dancing on the figurative grave of Donald Trump, because they're not reasonable people. But all reasonable people know that if they can do this to Donald Trump, why would they stop? And you can hear it in their voices. You know, you often maybe have wondered over the years, like when you see pictures of concentration camps and things like that, like how could reasonable thinking people, German soldiers, German citizens, how could they stand for that? How could they stand for that kind of a genocide? Because they thought they were doing something good, something noble. That's the Democrats right now. They think they're doing something good, something noble, something to protect democracy, but they are in fact destroying it.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomas. A day after a New York jury found him guilty of 34 felony charges, Donald Trump is speaking at a news conference at Trump Tower. Mr. Trump denouncing the trial as a disgrace, adding that he's an innocent man. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia is leaving the Democratic Party. He's registering as an independent. He says both parties are leaving their constituents behind for partisan extremism while jeopardizing our democracy. The Texas Supreme Court rejecting a challenge to an abortion ban. The challenge brought by women who say their health was placed at risk during their pregnancies. While more than 243,000 people in Texas are still without power following severe storms earlier this week, another round of severe weather is in the forecast. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 64 points, the Nasdaq down 209 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Government debt is now exploding by an unprecedented $1 trillion every 90 days. Think of that. It's a clear sign that our nation's finances are spinning out of control, and it's putting the savings of every one of you at risk. Hello, I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst and best-selling author and an evangelical leader. I'm deeply concerned about the impact this runaway debt is going to have on Christians like you who have worked hard to build your own nest egg for your family. To protect your financial future in these uncertain times, you need to diversify with something tangible and proven, like physical gold. That's why I recommend a gold IRA. To learn more, text FAITH to the number 989898, and my friends at Birch Gold Group will rush you a free info kit on how to move your IRA or 401k to physical precious metals, tax and penalty free. So don't wait. Just text the word FAITH to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold Group is the only company I trust. There's no obligation. So text FAITH to 989898, and I pray this information helps you achieve.
Dennis Prager here. I invite you to join me on a Bible cruise this November. I'll share fresh insights during these discussions, all while soaking up the sunshine and beauty of a tropical Caribbean paradise. Visit PragerBibleCruise.com.
For anyone living with everyday aches and pains, there's lots of things you can try. Tough it out. Bite the bullet, grin and bear it. Or you can try something that has helped so many other people. Relief Factor. Relief Factor is 100% drug-free, a daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that address the inflammation where it starts. And Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain for a short time, it helps reduce or even eliminate it all day, every day. Wherever you're hurting, your back, neck, joints, or muscles, in about 3 weeks or less, you'll see a difference and rediscover what it's like to feel better and live better. So if everyday pain is affecting your life, don't go with the mind over matter approach. Try a Relief Factor instead. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800 the number for relief and save on your first order. That's 1-800 the number for relief. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds of conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel. Home to the biggest shows on TV, like Sebastian Gorka, weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, followed by Stacey Washington at 5. Join SNC. Facts are sacred. Critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Zumo Plus. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo. News, opinion, passion.
All right, here we go. Coming back from commercial.
Anywhere you go with the Answers mobile app at 989theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers, TuneIn or iHeart.
I have been at enough station events in my time here at 99 The Answer to know that you are passionate about what's going on in our country. The passion meter is going to be running off the chart on June the 27th when we reconvene at Dave & Buster's in Hilliard for the first presidential debate watch party. Is that going to happen now? Because Biden now can say that Trump's a convicted felon and he can dodge the debate. If it happens, you can get tickets to it. Our watch party where I will be interacting with you, just like we did a couple of weeks ago when we had Mike Gallagher in town. Dave & Buster's, the venue this time in Hilliard. You see it right there by 270. Bring the kids. Send them to the game room while you and I watch the debate. Doors will open at 8. I think the debate starts at 9. We'll have a chat, get to meet personally, take a few pictures, and assess the first presidential debate, assuming it will happen. June the 27th, get your tickets at 989theanswer.com. That's 989theanswer.com. So Donald Trump is still at the podium at Trump Tower. I wonder if Joe Biden could stand there and talk about anything as passionately as Trump is talking about this for the better part of a half an hour. I'll let you hear a little bit more of the former president. We'll see what he is onto now. He's touched on a variety of topics, all of them related to Joe Biden's failed presidency, his destruction of our country, and the 34 felony counts that Trump was found guilty of yesterday. So he's hitting on the immigration problem. I think in this situation, more is less. I think 10 minutes, striking on the theme that he sounded at the beginning of his comments, which is, look, they're doing this to me. If they're doing this to me, they're not going to stop after they do it to me. Look at all they have done. They have made new laws to revive supposed old crimes. And then after the initial $5 million verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case, I said it was ridiculous. They put me back in court for defaming her again. I can't speak to my own defense, my own innocence, and sanctioned me another $83 million. Tish James said I inflated my assets and took $500 million off of me, tried to close my properties. They've tried to break me financially. They've tried to break me psychologically. They've put all my associates in jail. They've promised them, obviously Michael Cohen is a textbook case of this. He admitted, Michael Cohen did, in open court to grand larceny from the Trump organization. Are there any charges for that? No, there are not. Because why? Because Michael Cohen helped them get Donald Trump. And then just go into inflation and our international ineptitude, the feckless withdrawal from Afghanistan, the double standard that Biden and Hunter Biden have been protected by the DOJ. Trump and his associates have been prosecuted and persecuted by the DOJ. And that's it. And I'm going to continue to fight for America. I'm going to continue to fight for the Constitution. I'm going to continue to fight for you. And I wish I could say more, but I can't because I'm under a gag order, because they're afraid to let me talk, because the more I talk, the more of you say you're going to vote for me. That's it. That's all I had to say. But of course, the people who support Donald Trump have had a lot to say, and I definitely support Donald Trump because I don't want to grow up in this country. I don't want my kids to grow up in this country. I told you a couple weeks ago that if Donald Trump is returned to the White House, I have no fear that this nonsense that we've seen throughout the Biden administration will continue. But if Joe Biden is reelected to the White House, it will not surprise me if someday somebody from law enforcement is marching down this hallway and taking me away and taking other conservative hosts away around the country because we say a man is a man and it can't ever be a woman, that it's unfair for a biological male to be in a women's locker room, that calling someone by their preferred pronoun is not something I'm going to do, that will be criminalized, that preachers in the pulpit will not be able to preach against sin that is clearly outlined in Scripture. All of that is on the table if Joe Biden goes back to the White House, all of it. And so the question becomes, how do we react to it? Now, here's J.D. Vance, sitting Ohio senator, possible vice presidential candidate. This is J.D. Vance's view of what has occurred and how Republicans should respond.
You hear so many experts, frankly, from across the aisle say that this case won't stand up on appeal. Well, if the case won't stand up on appeal, why was it ever brought in the first place? Why was a judge whose family has gotten rich off of Democratic Party fundraising allowed to preside over this thing in the first place? And Republicans, Jesse, we cannot just sit on our hands. We can't just complain about it, as important as all of that stuff is. We have to be willing to fight back. We need to be subpoenaing Judge Merchan and his daughter. We need to understand what are the connections between big Democratic money and this sham prosecution. Did George Soros ever talk to Alvin Bragg about using his power to go after Donald Trump? We need to get to the bottom of it. And when we find wrongdoing, we need to be willing to actually punish it. That is the only language that I think these people are going to understand, is that if they do this, if they turn the American system of justice into banana republic garbage, they're going to suffer consequences for it. And if they don't, Jesse, it's not going to stop with Donald Trump. Banana republics never stop with the guy at the top. It's going to go after a ton of other Republican officials and conservatives unless we fight back.
Yeah, there are elements of truth in what J.D. Vance told Jesse Waters last night on Jesse Waters Tonight. And there are other aspects of it that, while they sound good, they just aren't practical. For instance, can't just sit on your hands. Agree, totally. Donate to the Trump campaign. I've never donated to a political campaign before. I'm going to donate now. I'm not going to donate a lot because I can't afford to donate a lot, thanks to Joe Biden. But if every American who is outraged by this would send $20 to the Trump campaign, well, there is something you can do. That is something everyone can do. Send $10, send $5. I'm not getting paid to say this. I'm just saying I'm motivated to do something I've never done before because of the outrageousness of what this verdict means, not just for Donald Trump, but beyond. But then J.D. Vance said, and I've heard others say, that we got to do to them what they're doing to us. Okay. In theory, tell me how that works. They were able to do this to Donald Trump in New York because New York City voted for Joe Biden 90-10. They have, like virtually every big city in America, complete Democratic control of New York City. But this could stick to Trump because they also have, the Democrats do, complete control of New York State and of the state of California. Tell me another state in the United States where there are not Democrats in the path of a state attempting to do what New York has done. You might say Texas. It's not going to happen here in Ohio. You watched our General Assembly work? Have you watched the judges in Ohio, the judge in Cincinnati who struck down the heartbeat bill? Like, the Democrats dominate the judiciary in New York and in California, so they can pull this off. It's one reason why the Democrats are so upset about the Supreme Court, because it's not in their back pocket. They can't order it around. They want to pack it, and if Biden's reelected, they'll do everything they can if they can get control of the Senate and the House of Representatives to pack it, because they want unfettered power. And with that unfettered power, what they would really like is for you and I to just shut up and not oppose their policies. Buy an EV, let your kids subject themselves to the trans agenda, celebrate the gay pride parade and the destruction of the American family, give more of your hard-earned money away in taxes. If you just shut up and do what we tell you to do, everything will be fine. If you don't shut up and do what we tell you to do, well, then we'll have to deal with you like we dealt with Trump. I mean, that's the reality. That's the reality. And we don't have on the Republican side, and I'm not saying I even advocate for this, but I'm just saying the impracticality of it is it's not possible. You can't do it in Alabama. You can't do it in Texas. You can't do it in Tennessee. You can't even do it in Florida. There are Democrats in the judiciary at state court and appellate court levels and Supreme Court levels where that won't happen. And the other part of it is, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to do that? I know it'll feel good. I know I'd thoroughly enjoy seeing Joe Biden perp walked away in handcuffs, Hunter Biden do time for federal gun violations and taking money from foreign enemies of the United States. I'd enjoy it. It's a guilty pleasure. I admit I enjoy it. Should I enjoy it? Do I want to let my enemies establish who I am? Do I? Do I want to become what I despise? Or do I want to trust in the power and the sovereignty of the God of the universe? I mean, I'm not trying to get theoretical and overly faith-centric today, but if we say that that's what defines who we are, then in moments like these, it has to define who we are.
Sunshine, pleasant afternoon. High today 76. Patchy clouds tonight, low 52. Clouds for tomorrow. Shower for the afternoon, high 83. Periods of morning rain on Sunday, otherwise cloudy, high 72. Partly sunny, warm day on.
That this was a political operation. But I think that the distance between the sentencing and the convention is fascinating. And what this judge decides to do, Trey would know better than me, but if there's some way that he is somehow put into jail or put on probation, it would likely happen after the appeals process has run its course, which means after the election. But just the sentencing being that close to the time that he takes the nomination is just a fascinating juxtaposition.
Well, Brett, if you have a second, let's ask Trey to weigh in on that.
There's never a good time to have a sentencing hearing. That's been my experience in life. You don't ever want to appear in front of a judge. You can make the argument that that the cloud of an in-custodial sentence, the threat of going to prison, is what will motivate Trump voters and supporters even more. So if I'm President Trump, I continue to say, look, I'm willing to go to jail to save this country. I highlighted this. Brett made note of it. He said, I am willing to go to jail to save this country. I want to move the sentencing hearing because I want the threat of jail hanging over the convention, hanging over the election, because I want people knowing that I have been victimized by this system. Made note of it. He said in custodial sentence on that. There's never a good time to have a sentencing hearing. That's been my experience in life. You don't ever want to appear in front of a judge.
380-208-4544, 380-208-4544, and set up your free consultation today at QC Kinetics.
Hey everybody, before I tell you about a very special offer, I want to first explain why this product is absolutely worth it without the discount. I don't take a particular supplement just because I get a discount. Anything as important as nutrition, I'll research that first. And if you go to balanceofnature.com and then scroll down to our homepage, you see all that goes to each bottle of Balance of Nature fruits and veggies. You'll see, like I did, it's well worth it. It's not just the ingredients, the real stories from real customers, and they have hundreds of thousands of customers. Each customer success story is just another example of how people.
Where did I put my stapler? Anybody seen my stapler? There it is.
Free money back challenge today and use my special promo code to get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets and free shipping. Call 800-246-8751 or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use discount code Charlie to get my special offer. That is discount code Charlie. That is balanceofnature.com. Discount code Charlie. Check it out right now. Discount code Charlie.
Is your money safe? Are you reading about the push for the digital dollar that could allow the government to tell us what we can and cannot buy with our own money? Look, with all the things we've learned about what the feds are up to, that's not a shock, right? I'm encouraging you to get The Secret War on Cash. The Secret War on Cash is a compelling, insightful report created by my friends at Swiss America. It's available now free of charge. You're going to learn how to protect yourself from these threats to our freedom and to our hard-earned money. Call Swiss America now, or you can text it as well. 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646, or just go to SwissAmerica.com/Gallagher and get this free report. I was shocked at what the banks are required to do for the government. You will be too. You've got to learn how to protect your money. Swiss America's free report, The Secret War on Cash. It's as easy as a phone call or a text to 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or go to SwissAmerica.com/Gallagher.
MyPillow.com products on sale, $25 each for many of them. Towel sets, slippers, slides, the MyPillow itself. That can't possibly be included, can it, Bruce? You've told me that cost you like $75. Yes, it did cost me $75, but it will not cost you $75 because indeed the MyPillow, the original, not some marked down, thinned out, teeny tiny version of it, but the original MyPillow, king size MyPillow, Bruce, with full fill, $25? Yes. Not making this up. Go to mypillow.com yourself. Queen size, yes. All of them, $25. Mike Lindell. He's not selling out to the bare walls. He's selling out because people love his products. Because funny thing about people, they like sleeping. They like waking up, rested, restored, rehabilitated. And MyPillow products help you do that. Whether it's sheet sets or towel sets or the MyPillow itself or any of their other fine products. Order 3 at $25 each and get free shipping. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce. We will talk with U.S. Senate candidate Bernie Moreno at 12:15. Dr. Mark Caleb Smith, Cedarville University political science professor and director of their Center for Political Studies, will join us at 12:35. Here is former Congressman, and I certainly hope future Attorney General Trey Gowdy on Fox News moments ago talking about the proximity of Donald Trump's sentencing hearing 4 days before the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Trey Gowdy with some thoughts on that and whether Trump could actually be in prison at the time he is nominated to be the next president of the United States.
Argument that the cloud of an in custodial sentence, the threat of going to prison, is what will motivate Trump voters and supporters even more. So if I'm President Trump, I continue to say, look, I'm willing to go to jail to save this country. I highlighted, though, Brett made note of it. He said, I am willing to go to jail to save this country. I want to move the sentencing hearing because I want the threat of jail hanging over the convention, hanging over the election, because I want people knowing that I have been victimized by this system in your stead.
Fascinating. I do think this will energize an already energized Republican base. The polls that were taken before the verdict showed that the outcome of this verdict is going to be negligible. But again, like I said in the second segment of the show, you can theoretically imagine something happening. When it happens, you feel differently. The gravity of it, the reality of it, the long-term impact of it is a little bit different than when you just envision it. And I don't know that many of us envision he'd be guilty on all 34 counts, right? When we were debating whether it'd be a hung jury, I didn't think he'd ever be acquitted. I never said that. I thought there might be a hung jury, or I thought they'd come back with guilty on a couple counts. Guilty on all 34 counts? I mean, that's a joke. It's an utter joke. And it heightens the outrage, which I believe will heighten the motivation for people to go out and vote for Donald Trump. I've told the story before. There were two things that happened in 2016 that made me think Donald Trump had a chance to defeat Hillary Clinton and become the 45th president of the United States. He was not ahead in any polls. Number one was a trip I took to Northeast Ohio. And on my way back, instead of coming back down 71, which is the way I went through a lot of little towns, a lot of little burgs. Took Route 62 from Amish country back into central Ohio. And I noticed something. No Hillary Clinton signs. Nowhere. Not one. Not a single one. Trump signs everywhere. That was the first indication. Maybe he's got a shot. Maybe he's got a shot. And the second indication I had was when I went to the polls that morning at my local high school. And I got there right as the polls opened, and the line was out the door. The line was out the door. And when I finally navigated that line and I got to the polling place and I cast my vote for Donald Trump and I walked back out, the line was longer. And I was like, oh, rural people, farm people, agriculture people, people who know hard work, American values, who believe, who fly the flag, don't just believe in it. Maybe he's got a shot. And now I feel a lot more confident at this stage approaching the 2024 election than I did approaching the 2016 election. And I think this only adds to the energy on the Trump side. But he's hurting himself when he gets up there at the podium and he rambles and rambles and rambles and he talks too much about the trial. You know how they always say, let others brag on you, don't brag on yourself? He needs to let others press this case. Now, speaking of pressing the case, what does this do to his choice for a vice presidential candidate? I think this verdict demands that Donald Trump pick someone who can get up and not angrily, but passionately articulate where our country is headed because of what we've seen with this Trump verdict. And I think the ideal person to do that is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Because Tom Cotton is a Ivy League educated lawyer. Tom Cotton is a U.S. Senator. Tom Cotton served in the military, and Tom Cotton has a presidential feel to him. He also has small children. So he can say, I don't want my children to grow up in an America where what happened to Donald Trump could happen to my children because they believe different politically, socially, religiously from other people. I think Tom Cotton's the perfect choice. I've heard Mike Pompeo. Does Mike Pompeo excite anybody? Tom Cotton's got energy. I hope Tom Cotton is his VP pick. Now, as I've said, there are a lot of people who think, okay, the only way to handle this is to do to them what they're doing to us. And there's precedent for that, right? We got Roe versus Wade overturned. Why? Well, because, you know, we got conservative justices on the court. Yes, right. Why do we have conservative justices on the court? Well, because Donald Trump nominated him. Yes. Why was he able to get them through the Senate? Oh, now I see what you're getting to, Bruce. Because it only required 51 votes, not 60. And why is that? Because Harry Reid, Dirty Harry, no, not Dirty Harry, Dingy Harry, as Rush Limbaugh used to call him, the then senator from Nevada, for federal judges, went against what had been standing protocol in the Senate requiring 60 votes for a federal judge to be approved. And the radical Obama judges that Barack Obama appointed weren't going to get 60 votes in the Senate. And so Harry Reid went to what is called the nuclear option, which was to invoke, oh, we need 50 plus. That's all we need, 50 plus 1. And Mitch McConnell said at the time, you know, you think you're never going to bear a cost for this, but you're going to bear a cost for this sometime, and maybe sooner than you think. And boy, did that ever come true. That's how we got Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. None of the three are perfect, but they're the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned. And so a lot of people say, well, we just have to do, in this case, what we did to the Democrats on the whole judicial approval thing. I don't know. It's one thing to violate, to amend, to change, and then to make the other party eat it when they do that to a long-standing Senate principle. It's quite another to weaponize the Justice Department the way they have weaponized the Justice Department, because then when does it end? I made the point the other day that political control of the White House, at least, and very often the Senate and the Congress, whipsaws back and forth between parties. What's the longest one party has had control of the White House in my lifetime? 3 terms. 3 terms. 12 years. Do you want every 8 to 12 years to not know whether calling someone who is a woman claiming to be a man, do you want to know if that, let me see, who's president? Who's heading the Department of Justice? Is that okay now? Is that not okay now? Do I have freedom of speech? Do I not have freedom of speech? I don't want America to become like that, because that's a joke country. And so I'm not on board at this point with doing to them what they are doing to us. Now, for crimes they've already committed that they haven't been prosecuted for, oh, that might be a different story, and we'll discuss next.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles.
All right, catch the rest of the show on the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page or the 9890 Answer Facebook page. Appreciate you joining. And I'm trying to be measured today. I'm very troubled by what has happened here. I would be troubled if I saw this happen in the other direction. I honestly would be troubled, because I think so many people don't take a long view of this. They just think, oh, it's Donald Trump and I hate Donald Trump, so good. But that's not the view you can have. Yeah, what's up?
Do you have Bernie's number?
Oh, I do have Bernie's number. But more